What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Inhumans Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Both of these episodes were pretty good. It's definitely starting to step up a little bit from the first two, which, like I said in my last review, it felt a little tonally confused, felt like it didn't really know what it wanted to be yet. So, now we're starting to get into, I guess, a little bit more of what we should expect for this first season. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, the characters are fun to be around right now. The only one that I think still stands out is kind of like has to be Crystal for me. Just the acting still isn't that great, and then on top of that, she runs into this random guy who just broke up with his girlfriend, and that whole conversation between them is kind of weird, and it just kind of feels like they're setting up clearly, oh, they're about to hook up, guys. I mean, she meets this random hot guy in the middle of the woods. I mean, come on. What do you think's going to happen next? So, a little bit, I don't know, this isn't really a typical Marvel thing. Watching the other Marvel shows, watching the Marvel movies, they typically don't do this random, like, oh, hey, random hot guy in the middle of the woods just runs into your big, huge dog, and he just recently broke up with his girlfriend. I wonder what that means. I don't know, it just feels so out of place for Marvel to randomly throw in a romance like this. But aside from her, the rest of the characters, I'm generally enjoying what they're going through. Karnak, even though kind of a similar story, he meets these random people. Apparently, they're growing Growniak? No. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called now. But they're growing illegal drugs on this property that they've illegally obtained, and he just happens to stumble upon them. And there's these two guys and this one girl, and of course the girl is hot as well. But for this one, it's kind of funny how they set it up, because first of all, the entire scene where they're trying to figure out what to do with him, he's just like sitting there thinking he's about to be killed. And so when the girl comes in to clean up his wound, he's like, what, do you want to leave a clean corpse? And then the guy comes in and he's like, we just took a vote on what to do with you. And he goes around behind him. He's like, I die for my people. And then the guy cuts his ties and he's like, I lost the vote. I'm just like, that was funny. So yeah, most of what Karnak is going through right now, it kind of feels unrelated to most of everything else going on. He's just with these random people that we don't know who they are. They're illegally growing stuff. And he randomly hooks up with this girl who takes an interest in him. And I'm just like, that's kind of weird. But at the same time, it's a little bit funny because of the way he handles it. Like she's taking off her clothes to jump into the ocean. He's just like, we don't have any water except for subterranean water on our planet. Just like, dude, why are you talking so much? He's so funny in how he's handling everything. When they're in the tent together at nighttime, she takes off her shirt and he sees her bra and he's just like, the complexity of this device just completely astounds me. She's like, let me help you. So, I don't know. That one, it is still stupid in how they're doing the random, hookup after you've only met each other for just a little bit. But because it's Karnak and because of his reactions to everything, it's much funnier than watching Crystal deal with this guy that she just met. And I don't know. That one just feels a little bit more like, I guess I'm watching Supergirl almost. And I don't want to feel like I'm watching Supergirl when I'm watching a Marvel show. But that's pretty much it for both of their stories. Crystal, obviously, in the first of these two episodes, does escape before she runs into this guy who runs into Lockjaw with his ATV. And then, like I said, his ex comes in. Apparently, she's a vet, and she takes care of Lockjaw for them. Karnak, like I said, just randomly with these people. The way it ends up for him, the guy who's being all like, I don't trust either of you and stuff like that. Apparently, he kills the other guy that was there and is digging his grave while Karnak is in the tent with the girl. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about. I don't know how this is going to connect to anything, but it's just kind of random right now. But then we get to the next part of this show, or these two episodes, Gorgon's part. And this is definitely one that has me very intrigued because even though it just sort of seems like, Gorgon's this big dumb idiot who's all like, oh, I'm just going to send them my location and then they're going to come fight and I'm going to take them down. And obviously it's not going to be that easy. After he realizes the severity of the situation, his reaction to it is very good. Because at first they set up a trap for Oron and all of the people that she brought. They've got Flora, who can control plants. They've got Locust, who can emit these high frequency waves that bounce back to her and can help her detect anything. They brought a couple others that I don't think they gave a name to yet, or if they did, I don't remember what they were. And then they brought the big bad, I guess, of this group. I have to look up his name now because this guy stands out to me so much for very good reason. One second, my phone is being very slow on me because it hates me. Let's see. Mortis, which kind of makes sense because it sounds like mortal, but yeah, Mortis definitely stands out to me for a few different reasons. One, whenever Auron hears from Maximus that he's sending Mortis, she gets worried. And whenever your big badass character who you built up in the first 2 episodes is like one of the best fighters in it, Adelan, she's getting scared of this guy, that already kind of builds him up as like, okay, this is not somebody to be trifled with. Finally, his reveal is shown. He's this guy with this mask, glowing red eyes. It's just like, what are you? And whenever he takes off his mask, just this blast of energy, almost like, a Cyclops type of character, it just bursts out and blows up whatever's in front of him. He's intimidating, but at the same time, listening to him talk, he's also hysterical. I mean, I love their interaction with this little group as Auron is leading them through. And he's just like talking like, what does she say? Oh, Auron's like, Mortis, stay here with Locust and keep her safe. And he's like, keeping people safe is not exactly one of my strong suits, And he's just like cracking jokes. I'm like, this guy is the big bad guy. And then when he takes off the mask, you're like, okay, you are the big bad guy in Adelan. But yeah, he's super funny. And I hope he sticks around for a little while because he seems like he's going to be a really fun character to deal with. But yeah, so we see they happen upon the cabin where Gorgon and his fellow Hawaiian friends that he just made are setting up a trap. So they attack. One of the guys gets killed by somebody who could spit acid or something like that. They spit acid on him and he dies because of it. So Gorgon picks everybody up, stomps the ground to knock everybody back and gets them all to run away. And so they manage to escape. They have a nice little moment between Gorgon and the guys he's with because he's like, look, you guys need to leave. I'm going to go find Karnak. You guys are my family now. I've never felt this way about another human. I never felt like I want to protect another human until now. So it is a very nice scene, and it's showing that Gorgon is more than just this big meathead of a guy that just wants to go around and stomp the ground and create earthquakes around him. He actually does think. He thinks for others. He tries to think ahead. He is pretty tactical in his thinking. So, yeah, I'm really liking Gorgon so far. I hope they can continue to grow his character a little bit more. Obviously, the Hawaiian guys that are with him are probably not just going to be like, okay, yeah, man, see ya. No, they're probably going to follow him along, maybe get killed in the crossfire, and it'll hurt even more for Gorgon to know that it was kind of his responsibility to keep track of him. So it's kind of building up for a nice little story there. I'll be very interested to see how they're going to handle it. But the last thing we see for him is him going to go find Karnak, heading back to the location where he last saw him or something like that. So those guys are kind of off picture now. But we see Auron and her group end up going after Black Bolt, who just got picked up in a helicopter and taken by a guy named... It starts with a J. I'm going to remember it later. But apparently this doctor is studying Inhumans, so he finds out about Black Bolt, calls to a guy in the prison where Black Bolt just got taken named Sammy, who apparently is also an Inhuman. I kind of figured after the doctor called him, I'm like, you're an Inhuman too, aren't you? But he calls him to pretty much tell him, look, take care of Black Bolt. And so in the prison, we see Sammy is there to help him out. One of the guards is being that typical douchebag guard that's just like, I hate you for whatever reason, so now I'm going to make sure your life is a living hell in this prison. And it's in every show that I've seen where one of the main characters goes to prison, there's always that one guard that for some reason takes particular hatred of our main character. This one, there is a reason. One of the cops that ended up in the hospital from Black Bolt knocking the cop car back was his brother-in-law, so there is a reason for it, but it's just such a cliche. I'm like, how many times are we going to do this? Like, wouldn't it have just been so much more funny if he walks into prison, this one guard's like, all right, I'm going to create this live in hell for you, and then doesn't really do anything to him at all, just sort of leaves him, and that's it. Like he talks a big game, but then doesn't. I mean, he does try to do stuff, and it is sort of funny how he brings him into the yard with everybody else, and he's just like, all right, let's have some fun out here. And then one of the guys comes up to him and is like, hey, man, you got that guy that took on all those cops and beat him down? Respect, man, respect. Just like, that is funny because that's not normally something we see. But I would love it if the entire thing was like that instead of being cliche, 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 and then one little thing that stands out is like original and different. So little thing there, but ultimately the prison doesn't last very long because after this little riot breaks out, Sammy leads him to a back door. He takes it down because he's got the ability to put things on fire or melt things. I'm not really entirely sure how his powers work. But then they run out to the yard, and the doctor guy is there in a helicopter, takes him to his research lab where they're looking through stuff. Sammy eventually sees that apparently this is not really a research lab. It's more like a prison where they're creating poisons and stuff. The doctor's apparently working with Maximus on a way to possibly inject Maximus with new Inhuman DNA so he can go through the Terrigenesis again. But ultimately they decide to leave, run into Orin and her gang, and there's about to be a fight scene, but then Black Bolt pulls this gas container so Mortis can't use his powers. In steps Louise, the doctor woman that we saw in the first episode, which I really didn't talk about because it seemed kind of like what is this? This random woman sees a hoof on the moon and then she gets kicked off her job because of it. But yeah, so she went with Medusa to help her track down where Black Bolt is. They show up in the nick of time in a car, knock Mortis out of the way. His mask comes up, he hits the gas canister and blows up and takes out most of Orin's team. Black Bolt and Medusa have a reunion. They get into Luis's car, take Locust with them so that they can track down everybody else. And that's pretty much where Black Bolt's story ends for the episode. But kind of backtracking a little bit to Medusa, this is another part of the story that I do find very interesting because it works in this scenario. Seeing Medusa be all like bossy and high and mighty because she is a queen, it makes sense. And then Luis's reactions to it are perfect. Honestly, it's how I feel about Curtis in Arrow, but this is intentional. Because Curtis stands out so much because he's all awkward with his humor. He's, talking way too much when he shouldn't be. He says something and then nobody laughs, nobody says anything, so he just keeps talking and talking to kind of cover up the fact that this is an awkward scene and I don't know what to say anymore. And then finally just walks away. And I'm just like, shut up, dude. Like, you're not funny. This actually works because it's intentional. Medusa does not see Luis as anything but just a human. So whenever Luis says something that's supposed to be taken as a joke, Medusa just gives her a glare because that's how she would react. And Luis is just like, all right, so you're not one for laughing, are you? But the thing about it is, she doesn't just talk aimlessly. She actually, says something funny afterwards. She has a joke. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, but she actually does say some funny stuff after Medusa just gives her a glare. And the best part about all of this is, after these 2 episodes, there's finally a moment where Luis tracks Medusa down after she has stolen her computer to try to locate where Black Bolt is. She tracks her down in a car, and then Luis is like, look, I've stolen a car today. I have broken so many laws. I've never broken a law before today, and I did it all for you. And Medusa kind of gives her a look, and then smirks, and she's like, I like you, Luis. Let's go. And Luis is like, that scene is so funny because it's been building up for these past 2 episodes. Luis is doing all this stuff trying to help Medusa. Medusa's looking down on her, just sees her as another human. And then finally she realizes, okay, you really are helpful. Humans can be helpful. And so now they've finally formed a bit of a partnership. And I'm like, this is nice. This is very well handled. So it's just a moment where the characters do a very good job of telling the story. Going through the motions, but it's still enjoyable. It's still fun to watch. And that's what I think the show has done very well in these next 2 episodes. It was very enjoyable to watch. There were a lot of fun scenes. There were a lot of fun moments. Not a whole lot of action right now. Definitely the scenes with Gorgon taking on Orange Team, a lot of action there. But, aside from that, most of it is just these characters dealing with a different situation. And that's a lot of fun. The first Thor movie, when he had to come to Earth and he was completely out of his element and he was trying to figure out Earth's customs, that was a lot of fun to watch because it's funny. So while it has been done before, this is a bunch of different people from different walks of life, even in the Inhuman community. You've got your king and queen, and then you've got their cousins that are still royalty, but not as high up. And they're all dealing with different situations, dealing with a random woman who's either very easy or very attracted to him. You've got Crystal coming down and dealing with the fact that Lockjaw gets hurt, and you've got to deal with this random guy who now knows the girl who he just broke up with, and vet and all that stuff. You've got the king dealing with going to prison and then dealing with this guy experimenting on Inhumans. You've got Medusa dealing with this random woman who wants to find out more about her, wants to get more information, but is also very helpful. It's just so funny to watch each of these different little stories going on and how each of them handle it in different situations. That is a very good thing they're doing right now. It's working so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The final thing to talk about, I guess, to sort of make sure I've talked about everything, Maximus right now is dealing with, like I said, he's dealing with the fact that his Terrigenesis turned him into human. We are getting some flashbacks as well, which are pretty effective for the most part. The only one that really didn't work was there's one scene where Crystal was going to give a speech. She was supposed to say that she supported Maximus to sort of help all of the people who were loyal to Black Bolt kind of see that, oh, well, Crystal's loyal to him, so maybe this will work. But ultimately she says, you're a king of no one, and then runs away. And then there's a flashback where somebody's telling him, you will never be king because Terrigenesis has turned you into a human. I'm kind of curious to see if that is true, if maybe there's something else that happened in his Terrigenesis that they weren't able to see. But I don't know. It's kind of being left in mystery for now, and I'll be very curious to see going forward what exactly the Terrigenesis did, because it sounds very weird to think, oh, you just turned into a human. That's very weird. But yeah, it didn't really connect because while, of course, he's saying, oh, you will never be king, that didn't really feel like that was the point of that. That one sentence at the end of that scene where we're finding out that his Terrigenesis turned him into a human didn't feel like it was enough to connect this scene where she is pretty much betraying him and saying, you are king of no one. So, I don't know. It was a very slight connection. It didn't feel, I guess, enough of a connection to do it. But yeah, seeing him sort of, he's successful on some accounts, but then on others, like I said, Crystal turning her back on him. The Genetics Council don't really want to go along with them. It feels like they're being forced to. So he doesn't really have the backing of everybody yet. Obviously, all the people that have been working in the mines, he has their backing because they didn't really like the caste system in the first place. But like I said in the first review, I'll be very interested to see how they're going to handle this because he is technically the bad guy. But yeah, this caste system that they have really feels like it's set up to enslave people who aren't Inhumans. So I'll be very curious to see how they're going to handle this. Are they going to make it to where our protagonists by the end of the season will see the value of people who are not as powerful as them? Or is it just going to be a case of they get back and they're just like, all right, our kingdom is back to being peaceful again, and they just completely ignore all of it? I don't know. But I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Inhumans reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.